I threw this video of people riding. It's 12 seconds long. I threw it on TikTok. It is currently, after 3.5 weeks, at 28.6 million views.
Greetings and hello. This is John Hanley, and welcome to Giant Task Podcast, the podcast that helps you navigate questions, answers, theories, strategies to help you become a first class marketing powerhouse alongside your personal brand. We're living that in real time with our co host. With me, as always, is the one and only Thad Bargman, who's a founder and creator of Theme Park Giant. Thad, tell us again, what is Theme Park Giant?
Hey, John. Theme Park Giant is an all-encompassing brand that I'm working on building and developing the last couple months. YouTube is the main channel. That's the main draw or the hope. And then along with that, I'm using other social media sites, TikTok mainly right now, some Instagram, some Facebook. But we can dive into that a little more, why I'm choosing some over others. But yeah, just a social media content creation site for theme parks and roller coasters.
Awesome. That's great. So it's been a while since we've been at the Giant Task podcast, but we've had some things going on. So kind of talk to me about what's gone on with Theme Park Giant recently that's been maybe a success story for you.
Sure. So the just draw the curtain back. It's mid-September right now. John and I recorded our first couple episodes back in late June. Just kind of cut these things off, get the ball rolling. I actually kind of held off on doing some more shows because I took a little break from the content creation over the summer just to be ready for it. If you listen to the previous podcast, I was pretty burnt out, and I realized just how burnt out I was. So through July, I just didn't do much at all. Plus, it was over 100 degrees almost every day. So one thing I've learned: a lot of vloggers leave Florida in July and go do other things. But so the last month or so, I've really been back into it full time with Halloween down here. I did a coaster trip across Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Jersey, and Virginia. Mid to late August, I've been putting some content out around those parks. And then while I was on that trip, I started to really lean heavily into trying to get more TikTok and Instagram posts out while I was, at the parks, or even planning a little more ahead of I need to start building out a bigger vertical video collection or library, because most things I shoot are in horizontal since that's YouTube, but I've kind of learned I need to be shooting both, thinking about both all the time. So one of those things that happened while I was at a park called Knoebels in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, but it is one of my favorite parks.
Knoebels.
What's that?
Knoebels. So our viewers are going to know Knoebels. Is
There,
that where? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Knoebels is in Ellsbury, Pennsylvania, northern
Ellsbury. Okay.
Pennsylvania, but it's oddly in the middle of nowhere, but it's only about an hour from a lot of decent
Okay.
sized
Nice.
places. So
Philly. I'm showing my geography illiteracy here. Is it close to Philly?
it is somewhat close to Philly, yes. So I stayed in Harrisburg
Okay.
because Hershey is nearby Harrisburg.
Yep.
So it was
Yep.
about an hour drive from Harrisburg to get there. But they pull from like New York City. You
Sure.
can pull from
Yep.
like the Boston area. It's a very popular park in that area that a lot of people outside of there don't know.
Understood.
So Knoebels is this very old school, one of a kind in the US, in my opinion. It's kind of like a carnival just set up shop in the middle of a valley. Like the mountains are all around you. It's the foothills of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It's a really cool setting. You park in a grass slot. It's free. Like it's just kind of remember where you park because there's no lights out there at night. It's crazy, but like it is the nicest carnival you've ever been to. It has some of the coolest flat rides you're going to find in this area. And then on top of it, they have a couple really great wooden roller coasters they're known for. But something that happened with me, they have this very old fashioned carousel, um, over 100 years old. They actually bought it from a park in the 60s and moved it to Knoebels, and it's been there for now 60 something years or around there. But what they do, and there's only like 14 of these in the world. ride on the outside horses, they have these rings. They're like metal rings, and then there's one brass ring in that group of rings. What they
So it's like,
do,
is it? I'm just trying to set my and people on TV can sort of see this because I'm moving my hands. If you're on a podcast, I'm really sorry,
yeah.
but there's like just like a series of rings all
So
together.
if you're on the outside, there's this arm that hangs out, and the first couple times you go around, it's too far away. And
Okay.
what one of the workers goes and grabs all the rings from the previous ride, and he or she will go load them into this thing. And once they're
Okay.
loaded in, they like do something, and it pushes out closer to the ride. So you're within an arm's reach of this thing.
Okay.
So the way they come out, because they're all lined up, there's like an open-ended thing here. So like you
Yeah.
can grab the rings and pull
Yeah.
them out as you go by. So it's like it's this rite of passage in the area. Like if
Yeah.
you know enough about it, because kids aren't big enough to do it. So like you'll
Okay.
see even on my TikTok, there's a couple kids that are trying probably for the first time this summer to ride it, and you see they realize they can't reach, so they
Okay.
like don't even try. It's all adults, which is one of
Okay.
the funny things on TikTok because people are like, these
Sure.
are all adults, you know, but it's kind of just one of those things like it's a rite of passage. So one of the rings is a brass ring in there. I screwed it up. I called it the golden ring because I wasn't thinking. I know it's the brass ring, but
This is not. Is this where the saying comes from? This actual
it
park in
it
Knoebel?
actually it's not this park, but it comes from Catcher in the Rye,
Okay.
which is what I've learned after this TikTok went viral. But so you're trying to get the brass ring because Knoebels, you can there's no admission fee to this place. You can
Okay.
buy like tickets and just use the ticket almost like a fair. Like it's
Okay.
$3.50 to ride the carousel. You give them $3.50 in tickets. Or most weekdays they have a ride wristband that you can ride everything, but Knoebels is more known for pay to ride. So if you get
Okay.
the brass ring, you get your $3.50 in tickets back. So it's like
That,
this
wow.
kind of cool prize, whatever. They say your name over the loudspeaker, like
You work your whole life to get a brass ring, and it's $3.50 off a ride.
yeah,
Still,
basically.
yes. Great.
But
Yeah.
I've never got it. I've done it like four
Yeah.
or five times. I would love to get it. Like I'm jealous of people. So like it is a big deal. And like if you watch the people on that video, they are very serious about like
Yeah.
trying to get those rings out. So I threw this video of people riding. It's 12 seconds long. I threw it on TikTok because I'm just like, I think it's one of the coolest like just rides out there. Like you don't see it very often, and especially in 2023,
Sure.
not many parks want people hanging off horses trying to grab
Right.
rings and whatever, but like no one really gets injured on it as much as everyone on TikTok thinks so. But it is currently, after 3.5 weeks, at 28.6 million views.
Wow.
Yeah.
That on TikTok.
Yes, on
And
TikTok.
your TikTok is
Theme Park Giant.
Theme Park Giant. Okay, so you guys can take 12 seconds and then come right back here and watch the video. Go ahead
Yep.
and like it too if you want.
Yeah.
But
It's
so
it's pinned at the
what it is.
top. You can
Yeah.
see it right there. But yeah, I was at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, the one day. I was waiting for the train, and I was just looking through like what could I throw out there, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, the carousel. And it was like at 1 or 2. I think it was about 1:30 that afternoon. I spent a couple 3 more hours at the park. I drove
Yep.
back to my hotel. It was about an hour away, and I grabbed some dinner. I was about to eat in the hotel, and I was about to like call some people, like just some friends, and catch up. And I'm looking, and my TikTok, I've just got all these notifications, like it had just exploded, and I had like 6,500 views in about 4 or 5 hours, which
Wow.
was my number one performing TikTok at that time, like lifetime. So like
Yeah.
not just in a few hours, but so I think I texted you. I know I texted like my sister, a couple other people, and I'm like, I think something's going on with this.
Yeah.
Like this just looks different. And I was thinking 100,000, 250K maybe if things got real hot. And within 24 hours, it was over 5 million, I believe.
Wow.
It may have been 7 million, but like, and from everything I've read, 5 million in a week on TikTok is considered like viral. Like
Sure.
this
Okay.
is a big thing. So
Yeah.
in my first week, I hit 13.4, I want to say. So like
Wow.
I was beyond viral, like mega viral.
Yeah.
And it just, I mean, it's slowed down now, but like it is still going at a crazy rate. Like we talked before the show, I'm still
Sure.
probably getting about 200 to 300 views. It's probably about 500,000 views a day still. It may be more, but yeah, because I've been monitoring. I want to hit 30 million. Like that's kind of my last big milestone I'd love to hit, but it's really been slowing down lately. But
Yeah.
maybe over the weekend we'll get there. But
Yeah.
it's been a
Well,
crazy ride.
that is still a lot of views and a lot of people being exposed to the brand,
Yes.
and so to Theme Park Giants. So what other metrics have you seen come along with the 30 million views, or 28 million views, I should
So
say, to get to 30 to get the milestone before?
Yep. So over 900,000 likes.
Okay,
I've been I've added just over 3,200 followers since this posted up.
that's great.
Because I had 103. I remember very specifically. I had
Yeah.
103 followers the day I posted that, and since then it has just been
Yeah,
insane.
the growth rate of 900%. Please don't hold me to math, but
Yeah.
that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very happy with that. So that's been cool to watch, and then I'm seeing the trickle down, at least on my TikTok channel, of all my previous posts, that had been out there with a few
Yep.
hundred or whatever. Like almost anything I put out at this point is gonna get about 2,000 minimum. It seems like within a few days. I've had a few get over the
Sure.
30,000 again. Like, so it's been a decent hit rate. A couple of this last week haven't done as well, but I'm trying to really lean into the TikTok thing right now since I have all these eyes on the
Yeah.
channel and build that out, because there are some ways I can start to make money on TikTok. Because 1,000
Yeah.
followers, you can begin streaming and get donations. So I've passed that now. I do want to start to mess with streaming in the parks a little bit since I have that capability now. And then at 10,000 followers, I can actually apply to be part of it's not an affiliate program, I don't think,
Yeah.
quite like YouTube, but TikTok does now pay people when you reach a certain level for views. It's nowhere near what like YouTube is going to pay you, but I mean, any income right now would be great. So that's become the focus right now. It's like, well, what can I mean, obviously, I need to start making money at some point here.
Yep.
So that's a full, not full, because I'm still leaning towards YouTube, but I have really backed off from Instagram and Facebook because I just have not seen.
Well, once you see the success in one channel, you want to do a couple things. And so for folks that don't know me, I'm Chief Marketing Officer for a regional bank. When we have I can't claim we've had any campaigns hit 28 million views, but when you have that success in something, you want to do a couple things. You want to look back a little bit to see what may have caused the success. And then you want to look forward, and there would be some questions I would want to ask here, but let's do the backward first.
Mm-hmm.
What made this video sing? What do you call attention to?
I think there's quite a few things. I mean, it's a rare thing to see one of these. Like I said, there's 14. They're all in North America. I think 13 are in America, one in Canada.
Okay.
From what I've read. So you're hitting these pockets of regions. So like Santa Cruz has one, the Santa Cruz Boardwalk. Okay. So I mean, that's LA.
These are carousels.
Yes.
These parks.
And they allowed you to grab the rings. So
they all have
it's
the
a very
ring,
specific, thing. And just based on the comments, like Spokane, Washington has one.
Okay.
There's one in Missoula, Montana. There's one in Martha's Vineyard. I didn't know all this and now I've done more research. So it makes sense because it's triggering like a childhood memory for a lot of people.
Sure. Yep.
And then you have the people that have never seen anything like this. There's a lot of comments like, "What am I looking at here? What's going on?" Because it is confusing if you don't understand it. And then I've really been leaning into hashtags a lot more, because my background, I'm an old software engineer, but I also did work in data analytics at my previous job. So I've really been enjoying digging into analytics and the
Sure.
numbers and things like that. So when I look at things, TikTok's really good about when you do a hashtag, it'll tell you basically how many posts in the past have used that same hashtag, so you can just see the kind of impression you may get on
Yeah.
something like that. Truth be told, I totally screwed up. Um, it's the brass ring, and while I was posting it, and when I was in the park, even shooting my video for the Knobles, like full length YouTube, I called it the Golden Ring. So I did hashtag Golden Ring, which for whatever
Oh,
reason has like 4 billion posts on TikTok. Where now I've looked, brass ring is nowhere near that.
that's amazing.
Yes.
That's yeah.
So
So it's an inadvertent thing, and it still caused you to own a hashtag that actually has more popularity.
yes, yes, it was a
Wow.
total screw up on my part. Now, still like Knobles,
Yeah.
hashtag Knobles
Sure.
or Knobles Amusement Park. I mean, those are both in the like 40. I know
Yeah.
Knobles is like 40, 50 million range. Knobles is a
Sure.
very popular park. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you have a lot of different things hitting there. But I do think that Golden Ring screw up was a big, big reason.
Big
It's
ingredient
hard
there.
to
Yeah.
prove that, though, because, I mean, a lot of the other things I put out are, they're big impressions too. And we're still not seeing like this. But
Yeah.
I think part of it is like the music that's
Sure.
playing because it's the da 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 da
It
da da
triggers
da.
the familiarity and
Yes.
something, hidden in people that may actually be going to parks for more advanced rides.
Yep.
Remember something from childhood.
Yep. And there are a ton of those posts of like there's a lot of people that have moved away from Pennsylvania and they comment right away like
Yeah.
I knew
Yeah.
what this was the minute I saw it and it brought back all these memories. Like you
Yeah.
just see these comments where people are like, oh my god, like a lot of the like core memory unlocked comments
Yeah.
have been
Yeah.
showing up that like people like to make. So and then like a lot of people are like, oh, is this the one in Spokane or Missoula or whatever? So it's
Sure.
like it triggers all those things. And then so I've done a little deeper dive too, because you do get to see some demographics if you drill down when you get into TikTok. And Singapore, um, Osaka, Japan, and I think it's Sydney, Australia, are
Okay.
the three of the top five biggest cities in the world that have watched this. Houston, for some reason, is up there, and then LA, which makes sense with Santa Cruz.
Sure.
But I can't quite figure out what the deal is with these other foreign countries and why.
That'd be interesting for any folks to comment. Any theories there? I wonder if there's something uniquely American about the carousel that makes
Mhm.
them curious into another culture like that. I would wonder if there's something similar in there in those regions that
Yep.
stands up
Yeah,
to it.
I've tried to look. I know I talked to a couple Australian friends, and they said, "Oh, there is a carousel in Sydney or whatever, but it wouldn't they wouldn't think it would trigger people to be looking
Yeah.
for carousels or whatever." So yeah, it is fascinating to try and figure that out because the when I knew it really took off that first night, well, I knew it was taking off because I hit a million that first night before I
Yeah.
went to bed. But when I woke up and it was over like 3 million or whatever,
Yeah.
and I was getting like Japanese comments or
Yeah.
like, different languages, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, we hit Asia overnight and it did
Yeah.
well. So like that's when it really took off because
Wow.
it was a worldwide thing, not just
Yeah.
America. So that's always the interesting thing because sometimes I'll think it's dying down when I go to bed and like it'll get hot again somewhere
Yeah.
random like across the ocean, and I'll
Wow.
add a few 100,000 views overnight, and I don't. That's where we're all trying to figure out why did it go viral,
Yeah.
and that's why we do these look backs.
Yep. Yeah. And so then, but as you mentioned, we can't totally source the reason something gets to critical mass. So when I'm leading a group of marketers looking through this, I would ask them, is there anything you would have done differently for the video or anything that you're really proud of that you did? So start with the first one. You're really proud of something with that video.
So this is the I'm not a huge self confidence guy a lot of times. So like
Sure.
as this was happening, like a lot of my friends were like, "Oh my God, way to go, awesome!" And I was
Yep.
looking at it. I try to be realistic, like, because I think it's very, very easy to get caught up in like, I went viral, now I've made
Right.
it, and
Right.
whatever. But my thing was, anyone in the world could have shot that video. They could have been
Right.
standing in that spot and turned their phone on for 12 seconds and recorded these people grabbing these rings and threw it on TikTok. I didn't do anything special. So I wish I would have had my face or like been
Sure.
introduced, explaining it. Like,
Yep.
here's what's going on. So like my face, my brand is on there because unfortunately, 28 whatever million people have seen this video, but unless they're going into my profile and watching other things, and people are, I like,
Sure.
because they track your profile views and
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
always maxed out
Yep.
whenever I go in there. So like they are seeing me, but not everyone's going to do that. Not everyone's,
Right.
so they don't know what or who Theme Park Giant is. All they know is it's this carousel video. So I wish I'd done some sort of, hey, this is this, blah, 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 and actually explain it
Yep.
too, because I think it would clear up a lot of confusion for people. But that also probably helped with some of the comments
It
and
could be
interactions
the
to get
mystery,
people.
the mystery and the brevity could honestly have been what hooked so many people into
That is
completion.
true, because a lot of the comments are like, "What am I looking at?
Yeah.
WTF?" A lot of those people just need
Yeah.
explanations. So yeah, my biggest thing though was my face, my brand
Sure.
is not on there.
So
So
that,
I need to
that
think of those things more often.
yeah.
One thing I've at least started to put my watermark on like
Yeah.
my TikTok, so at least Theme Park Giants there
Yep.
on the screen, things like that. And then I have considered, since there are so many questions on that video, do I do a, oh, what do they call it? This is where I don't know anything about TikTok, John.
Sure.
Like, just being honest, is
What
there
do
a
you do?
duet?
Yeah,
Do
you're
the
left with
duet where I can have it
yeah.
in the background and I can be talking, so then I can actually like, hey, there's been a lot of questions about
Yeah.
this, and then I have a lot of horizontal video I shot when I was at the park, so I could maybe put that on a green
Sure.
screen behind me, zoom in on the rings, and be like, hey, you can actually see them like grabbing them out of there, like. So I want to do another thing on that.
Sure. Yeah,
Now
you've
that
got
it's slowing down, I feel like I should, okay, maybe get that out there and then
yep.
try and get
So you're
some more
yeah.
views, get my face
Yep.
out there, get the brand out there, just try
Yep.
and benefit from this.
So your question then, Thad, is what after we stop looking backward and start looking forward and what we're going to do next. You have to be thinking about certain things like what's your question that immediately comes to mind.
Yeah, the number one question to me is how do I benefit off of all these views? 28 million people have come and seen it without my face or my brand in it.
Right. Right.
How can I benefit from that if I'm not on there? How can I drive people to the YouTube channel, which is the main goal, things like that. So that is the next question going
Sure.
forward.
Sure. Well, it's a good problem to have because you've got all these views. You've multiplied your follower account by a considerable multiple. And so then I would ask, is YouTube still your main goal, or are there some other goals you could pursue in the meantime
Sure.
um, with content?
Yeah. YouTube is still the main goal. Long term, absolutely. That is the pie in the sky. That is what I believe. If I'm going to make this successful, that has to be successful. The other things help, but that
Sure.
is,
Got
in
it.
my opinion, the number one draw. Now, in the short term, have I switched focus a bit to really hammer on TikTok and build that out? Yes, I have. Like I mentioned, they have the different tiers now. The 1,000
Yep.
followers, I can stream, I can get donations. The 10,000, I can, actually start to get money for views. So that 10,000 is my number one short-term goal right now.
Okay.
And we're
And you're
at
at
about 3,300, so we're about a third of the way there. So,
okay.
and building that in just a few weeks, it gives me hope that, okay, maybe in a month or so we can start to be getting money from TikTok. And then it's that validation. Like once you become that validate, like what's the word? Verified.
Yep.
It is that validation for people of like, oh, now like, oh, I'll follow this guy or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
you asked about some of the kind of trickle down things I've seen, and I'm seeing more views on my other videos that are out there and things like
Yep.
that. But to me, the biggest thing I've noticed is the rate at which I add followers has increased. Even though the
Yes.
views are going down, the rate I'm adding followers is going up every day. And I think it's because you see someone has multiple thousand followers now,
Yep.
they seem more valid.
That's right.
I also wonder, has the algorithm at this point really honed in on who should be seeing this, and are we
Yep.
getting more hits because it's like we know exactly who's
I
going to
think
want to
they're
love this, put it on their For Your page, they'll like it right away, they'll probably subscribe, have we are I would think after this many iterations of putting it out there, seeing how it does, because there's different tiers TikTok does. We can maybe walk through that sometime, what I've read,
Yep.
but like how it exposes your video. But yeah, to just keep seeing that grow and grow, I think it's
Yeah.
that, oh, this guy's got 3,000 followers. Okay. Well, he's going to be
Certainly
around.
there.
He's
Yep.
going to be around for the long term. It's not just some one hit wonder that I'm never going to care about again. So that's been interesting to see, and I'm interested to see like, so now how fast can we get to 10,000? We built a third of the way in about a month, essentially. How fast can we get that other 2/3? Will
Right.
it be a
Right.
month? Will it be longer? Will it be shorter? So
Yep.
those
Well, I
are
think
those are the look forward things for me right now.
Yep. So mining your followers, yes, certainly. And I think there's probably some truth to the algorithm is serving you up to people most interested in your content. Can't
Mm-hmm.
totally control that. What you can think about is those followers that have. It's interesting to me that the number of followers has gone up while the aggregate views has gone down.
Mm-hmm.
Means to me you're probably getting some sort of return visitors that have left this one video, looked at some others, have come back to indicate interest in following your brand.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maximizing that 3,300 follower base is the next step. So then I think about all the followers you've pulled through and all the comments you've gotten and some of the questions. Some of them of course are like, what the heck is going on, but some of them probably are actually worth answering. So is your follow-up strategy to these producing some sort of question and answers about this very ride at Knoebels?
Yep, I do. Like we chatted a little earlier about it, but I do want to do more of a kind of answer, not a live Q&A, but I've
Sure.
seen enough of the questions to come through where there's enough confusion where I do want to do a video to actually explain it more,
Yeah.
give the backstory, tell people that fingers don't get ripped off on a daily basis.
Yep.
Because that seems to be, or that COVID did not be created on that carousel, because that seems to be the other belief. But we won't get into that.
Interesting.
But yeah, so I think it is kind of reading the community, like they seem to want answers on this. So, or maybe just even the people that grew up going to Knoebels might just want to see another video like explaining more about it. They may not know it came from another park. They may not know there's other,
Yeah.
carousels that do this around the country. So just giving a little more backstory, giving a little better video of it, like being able to zoom in, because like you can't really see what's going on in the picture in the video right now. So kind of answering those questions for people, and I think maybe we can parlay this success. I don't think it'll be anything near this, but can we get some more views? And
does it at least resonate for what I would call your core customers here? You've got 3,200 people who have said, I want to hear more.
Yep.
And maybe that helps them with a referral or share component on TikTok.
And yeah, I've been seeing a lot of more lately of like people tagging their friends and being like, hey, I just told you about this at Knoebels, or like people that were at Knoebels and didn't know the carousel existed, like crazy stuff like that. So it's just I do think there's the community is looking for stuff like this. And like you said, people, they may watch it a couple times. They come back, look through your profile.
Yep.
One thing I've noticed is sometimes when I get a new follower in the other alerts, they've gone through and I'll have like 4 or 5 likes in a row.
That's
of like
great.
they've gone through my other videos and they're liking what I'm putting out. So it's like, oh, good. So I am hitting with that person, because that's what you want. You want the engagement. You want them coming back because that's when
Yep.
TikTok's really going to push you.
Yes.
Oh, one quick thing. I just thought of this, but just analytics type stuff. A huge thing is, playing the whole video because they want you on.
Right. Right.
And my video, I believe, is at a like 68% playthrough rate, like
Okay.
will complete.
Yes.
And from what I've read, like anything above like 10% is
Yeah,
great.
you only have a few seconds, as anybody
Yes.
in marketing knows. It's like we've got to hook them and reel them in.
Yep.
68 is great, and so that's where I think the brevity of the video has probably been an advantage for you.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
and that's a good call out too, because I've started to do a few more messing with things. Like I see a lot of TikTok people do these edited, like super edited, like graphics, all this stuff. It's a minute,
Yeah.
minute and a half long, like kind of a quick tidbit. They might be trying to push you to their YouTube channel to watch a longer thing. So I was like, oh yeah, I can do that too because I'm already doing video editing, for my YouTube
Yeah.
stuff. I can just do my TikToks the same way. So I spent a couple hours the other day putting this. We were at the Halloween party at the Magic Kingdom the other night. The Haunted Mansion does all this stuff. They have all these special characters out, like talking. They do a lot of improv. They're really funny. So I had some video of that, and I'm like, oh, this would be cool. Everybody loves the Haunted Mansion. So I did this whole minute and a half thing,
Yeah.
really edited graphics. It's got like 500 views after 2 or 3
Interesting.
days. And
Interesting.
so you're just sitting there like, all my other stuff I just kind of throw out there has been getting 2,000-3,000, even if it isn't hitting or whatever. And
Sure.
so it's like, I kind of proved to myself I don't need to do these edited videos to like get big numbers. So
Right.
do I need to focus on that at all? Do I need to figure out what is a good longer one?
Right.
Because maybe it is like, hey, like we've talked about some ideas for my future, those giant
Yeah.
guide to blah, 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 or
Yeah.
whatever. Can I do a quick 1-minute video of like, here's the giant guide to Tomorrowland on TikTok, but go watch the thing on YouTube to get the full 20-minute whatever so you can learn
Yeah.
more, but it's at least maybe getting that hook set. So
Right. So if YouTube is your ultimate goal, but TikTok's performing in the meantime, I would think that some type of tiered approach like that would be a worthy experiment where you're teasing something on TikTok that's maybe a little bit longer on YouTube.
Yep.
And it's not going to hurt anything, but that might be a road worth taking.
And that is when I did my coaster trip, I would, because I always do an intro for my intro
Sure.
and an outro for my YouTube stuff, horizontally.
Yeah.
And I actually started to do like, vertical like intros while I was at the park. And I was saying like, I'll be at the park all day. I'm going to ride these things, blah, blah, blah. And then check out my YouTube, for the full video. And then I've been putting like little clips of roller coasters in there that I recorded. And those just seem to do okay. I'm getting 5,000-6,000 views on them. The toughest part is tracking. Do I know if they're actually going to watch the videos?
Sure.
YouTube numbers have not shown any sort of real increase that you would expect when you're getting 28 million views on something. So that's what I need to figure out. How do I become successful on more than one platform? And that synergy that people like you love to talk about, actually get that going. So there's a lot to figure out. It's exciting. But if people
marketers,
knew, like, there would be a lot more TikTok people making viral videos because it's pretty dang tough to do. Well, I say that, and here we sit, but I also can't sit here and be like, this is why it happened. I've come nowhere near replicating it.
Actually, the marketer would answer that a little bit differently. That yes, somebody could have also produced a video. Yes, it was short. Yes, it seems easy to you, but anybody who's worked in creative and telling brand stories for a long time knows that that stuff only happens when you're continuing to push forward and give yourself the opportunity. So
True.
the fact that you're producing content gets you to this point. Like you said, you just never know when the opportunity or lightning is going to strike, but it wouldn't strike if you didn't do anything at all, which
Right.
is a lesson for anybody who is watching this and wonders how to get started.
Right. And I think another thing to touch on is it's great to go mega viral or whatever the term is, but what if you're not ready for it? You
Right,
know,
right.
and maybe that's a whole nother discussion for us, but let's be honest. I didn't have the library of
Right.
content on, not on TikTok, not on YouTube. Like I have maybe 50 videos on YouTube at this
Yep.
point, if that. I
Yep.
only had about 50 TikToks total before this one went. So that was a concern of mine of like, well, how can I actually keep people here if I don't have a ton of stuff?
Yep.
So it's like at the
Yep.
same time, I'm like, I got to get stuff out there because now people are looking for it and I have to be feeding that beast. So that's probably another episode, but
Yep.
just another thing to touch on that, like, it's great to go viral, but you need to be prepared for it and have
Yeah.
other things to have people watching. And I just don't have the library, let's be honest. So it's interesting, but
Yeah.
it gives you the hope of like, well, if I did it, after a couple weeks of really trying to do TikTok, that hopefully I can recreate
Yep.
that. Or I was just a one-hit wonder, and we're Smash Mouth, or one of those bands, and you'll never hear from Theme Park Giant again. But I hope that's not the case.
I don't think it's the case. You at least have a network of 3,200, 3,300 followers to build on, and that's the challenge in the months ahead. So we're almost at time here,
Mm-hmm.
I think. And so I think we'll wrap up with asking, what have you learned and what's your next question that you want to answer?
What have I learned? I've learned that I think the number one thing I've learned, as opposed as I was to TikTok, um, like I've never been a user.
Yeah.
Previously, I've just never. I tried once. It didn't it didn't hook me at all, like most social media does. I really only did it because people were like, "You should really be on TikTok. You should,
Yeah.
broaden your things." So, I guess I've learned that like never like be closed-minded to an
Sure.
idea.
Sure.
Let those
Yeah.
doors be open.
Yeah.
And I just think that in life in general, the last couple of years, I've been much better about that, and like I'm less stubborn about things. Because 5 years ago, I'd have been like, "No, I'm not doing TikTok. I don't care
Yeah.
what anybody says." But at least I tried it and like was learning from it, and then kept going with it, and like
Yeah.
I've seen some success. So while right now Insta's on the back burner, like I've never been super crazy about Instagram, and like, but I need to keep that open
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I've also, I mean, there are people that only use Instagram, and like it is an older crowd, than TikTok. So finding what my demographics are on each channel and putting possibly different videos out to each of them, because right now I've just been duplicating. So
Yeah.
then it just seems weird to me just to throw a TikTok video on like Instagram.
Right.
So
Right.
keeping those doors open, not just completely giving up on Instagram and Facebook like I have the last couple weeks. Like, um, yeah, just stay open minded, honestly.
Yeah.
Like anything in
That's
business, like, don't be too stubborn. Listen to other people. Like, I mean, I talk to you for a reason,
right.
I call you my mentor because I don't know this stuff. And like, and you may not know how to navigate this either, but you have a lot better idea
I'm not.
than I
I'm not.
do.
I am not on TikTok, so I'm not a TikTok customer.
Oh,
But it's fascinating, and that lesson is so important to anybody in business or marketing. Often we come to a table or have a business idea or have a campaign idea, and we're like, "This is going to work on satellite TV," but it's maybe a billboard that's actually driving
mm,
your clicks or your links, and we see that all the time. And you can't anymore restrict yourself from one channel to another as you're finding out. So it's an important lesson for anybody anybody seeking to tell their brand story.
Well, it's like investments, you know. You don't want all
Yeah,
your eggs in one basket. You got to
right,
diversify. So it's like
right.
anything, and you know that's the thing too. Like, do I need to get into Threads? Do I need to get
Yeah,
into Twitter or X? You know,
yeah,
like I haven't even scraped the surface of those because I don't. I've never been a big Twitter guy. I've looked at
yeah,
Threads. It's just Twitter on Insta. So like
yeah,
it's done nothing for me to try to get content going on that, but sitting here having this conversation, I should be thinking about it, you know, because
yeah,
there's
yeah.
different audiences everywhere, and you just never know who you're going to hit and what's going to happen. But you may find a fan out there or
Yep.
thousands of them. But I mean, that's the hope. So that,
That's the
that's my lesson learned. As long as that took me to say, I did learn it. So
Well, there we go. So I think that'll wrap us up today for Giant Task Podcast. Super thrilled that you're having some success, and you know, going viral is hopefully the beginning of a story, and certainly one that we're glad to work through and tell with our listeners together. So you know, maybe talk to the folks about how they can find your content and check you out.
sure.
And yep,
Yep. Obviously, Theme Park Giant on any of the channels. So YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Those are currently where I'm at. I'm fairly active on YouTube, very active on TikTok right now. And like we said, we're on the back burner on the other two, but we're hoping to get there. But yeah, trying to build the brand out. You know, got the hats, the shirts, things like that. Starting to
yep.
get noticed. So it's paying off. So yeah, got to build that brand.
There probably is a topic on the sprint in marketing versus the long term, but we'll save that for a future episode.
Yep.
And by the way, folks, I am on X Twitter at John J. Hanley. So you know, we've got all of our channels covered here with the Giant Task Podcast.
There
So
you go.
yep. So until next time, gang, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on Giant Task Podcast.